it's a bad transaction, not a bad life. Things have to continue. And however, I realized this a bit too late in failing CTA. But when I did, Rudo, when I realized that it's a bad transaction and not a bad life, I've tried to make sure that everyone who's come through me, everyone who I'm mentoring, and everyone who, comes to me with their story and they're like, hey, Tarie, how did you do this? I just need to remind them that it's a bad transaction, not a bad life. Nothing has to stop when you fail CTA. Life continues. Be who you are.
Hello guys, my name is Rudo, and if you're new to my channel, thank you so much for stopping by. I hope that you're going to stay and you're going to subscribe. I'm almost reaching 500 subscribers, so I'm very excited, and I'm glad that more people are engaging with me in the comments. So please make sure that you do watch, you like, you subscribe, and you comment. Today we're going to have a video that I had with someone who's a friend. She's a mentor. She's someone I really admire and I look up to, and I hope that you guys will enjoy this interview as much as I did, talking to her, learning from her. And I think, yeah guys, this is something that we can all learn from. So without further ado, let me get into it.
Yeah, I think I had maybe briefly introduced you, but everyone wants to know about you from you. I think it's always nice to hear how someone would actually talk about themselves. So yeah.
Okay, I think that's one of the hardest questions, even in an interview, when they ask you to talk about yourself. Tell us who you are, what do you do? But that's okay. My name is Tariro Mandeya, born and bred in Harare, Zimbabwe. I guess I high school, junior school, everything was done here. Had aspirations of being a chartered accountant when I did a little bit of internship during my high school days at Deloitte. And I'm like, wow, look at these people in heels and looking all fancy. And I'm like, I want that job. Not yet had the idea of how intense the job is, but also fulfilling. From then went on to do long distance learning with UNITA. It's pretty hard, but yeah. From then, I kept on applying. You know what? Lots of people advised me. They told me, hey, look, you're coming from a very good high school. The chances of you making it into a firm are very high. However, Rudo, that wasn't the case for me. I actually used to go, I think, 3 or 4 times a year and drop off my CVs at Deloitte, PwC, EY. Then graduated in 2015, and then 2017, after the whole rotation. So you can imagine from 2012 doing all of this, you can imagine. And EY sent me email. And from then, that's when I got into EY and started my articles with EY. And entered, so I graduated 2015. So that's, so with the chartered accountancy journey, from your degree, you do BComs, you then need to do the honors degree. And so CTA, they call it. I then embarked on CTA with UNISA. I did this twice, guys. Failed. Yeah, I failed. And you can imagine failing when you're in a big 4 firm. It's one of the most heartbreaking things. And even on a personal level, on an individual level, when you've never failed in your life, you've always been an A student, and at worst it's a B, and you cry and you do all these things, and now it's like the biggest stage of your life, and things aren't exactly going according to plan. So that happened, and I spoke with my bosses, and so they helped me, and they asked me to look at myself and sit down with myself and ask myself where I'm going and what I need to do to make sure that the next level is is crossed. And from then I took a sabbatical from work, and it's everyone kept telling me no one has done this in the longest time. And here I am, little Tariro, little in the sense that my dreams aren't coming through because I'm not so little, but yeah. And I got the sabbatical approved and went on to CAA and do my CTA with CAA. So you can imagine now you're not working because, articles you're working and you're doing school at the same time. And so now I'm not working and I'm now at CAA. However, CAA comes up with a rule that, midterms, you don't get a certain mark. I think we all know, well, the mark allocation thing is always different.
So now you're doing full time. You're like, you know what? I'm gonna put this work aside, this training aside.
Yes, we're going to do this. We're going to.
Okay.
Pretty much, and I'm now doing full time, and midterm comes, and I'm determined to make it. I need to go back and finish my articles, and midterm I just didn't make it, and this is full time, and it just doesn't come through, and so you can imagine the emotional distress financially, because now you're not at work and you need to rely on other people, and who's paid the fees. You need to give feedback. Is your feedback positive? And all these things. I knew I could do it. Personally, I knew I could do it. It was, I really knew I could do it. And, thank God for my supportive family and supportive friends, especially from the EY community. I then went back, for one more try. And then I told myself, there's no way out of this. There's only one way out. And there was only one way out. I made it CTA for the 3.5 time. We could call it the fourth, 3.5, 3.54. I made it CTA, made it ITC. Now back at EY, ready to finish my articles and seeing what the next journey is, And so that has been me and my journey.
Wow, that's a lot. Like, I think we need to break it down. And, let's start with your first CTA attempt. That was what, 2017?
That was 2017, Rudo.
Yes.
So 2017, I'm just getting into EY. That's my first year with EY. Super excited. Big Four firm has accepted me.
Okay. You feel like, okay, these people now believe in me, and how did you feel in your first attempt? Do you feel like okay, so you say that maybe you did it in 3.5 years. Do you feel like it was because of that first year? Like everything was then a ripple effect of what had happened in your first CTA year?
I feel like there were a number of mixed emotions there. Yes, of course, there was work pressure. And I mean, everyone has work pressure. And I think so from that one, okay, so from that one factor, let's just discuss it a bit, is that I think know yourself and know the level of pressure one can take, really. Because it's all good, it's all great, when you've made it into the Big Four, but can you handle the pressure? And do you know what the pressure entails? So I don't think there I quite knew what the pressure entailed. And I think it also came with a little bit of, pride in just looking back. And I'm like, I've never had a problem. Best accounting student, what could go wrong? And many things could go wrong, because if you've heard people discuss about the CTA journey, I mean, you've gone through it. Congratulations. You've just recently, passed your APC. With CTA, you sort of need to go to the drawing board and say, look, what needs to be done? What am I doing? And how is CTA going to fit in? Are there things I need to cross out? Am I doing too much? Am I spending too much time here and there? And I think for me, that management was not done in the first and second year. It was kind of what could go wrong? Nothing could possibly go wrong. I'm at the prime of my life and nothing could possibly go wrong. And the sad thing is that you put in so much effort and it just doesn't come through together. And so, I think with that, those are my comments there.
Okay. No, I totally get what you're saying. I think that's wisdom. Okay, and then let's talk about okay, so 2017, you're supposed to have like a 3-year contract.
My contract, I think, was 4.5 years. Up until sometime last year.
Yeah. So now, what did it mean when you then left to do full time? What did it mean in terms of your training contract?
Okay, in terms of my training contract, it's called a sabbatical. So according to like the EY policy, as long as you take a year off and it's approved, and that's possible. And so yeah, basically now my training contract stretched up until next year, 2026.
Okay, so how many years have you done? You done like 2 years?
So now it'll be 3 years. 3 years, Rudo.
Okay. So and you get to keep your hours.
Yes, I do. I
Sort of
get to keep my
like
hours.
your competences. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So and then I think the other thing that we need to talk about, where we really have to, get into how you felt, how you process things. You talk about support system, you talk about, what's happening around you. And I'm sure it was never easy. So is there a time when you felt like you were doubting yourself? How did you feel? How did you process those emotions? And I know that you might have a support system, but on a personal level, how did you go through this? How did you take yourself through this?
I think naturally it's an emotional journey. The journey without any distractions, without any failures, without anything going adverse is naturally emotional. It was really emotional for me because in our careers we don't stop the social side, the family side, every other factor that contributes to your livelihood, to who you are as a person. So things will happen, people will die, um a lot of things will happen. And I feel like at that point in time, I was not so together as a person. I was not so together because I had placed so much emphasis on my career. And now you can imagine, now I don't spend time with, my family, my nephews. I'm always at work and it's not pulling through together. It was a really strenuous point in time for me where I did not have everything together. But it's important to pray. It really is important to pray. And I can then tell you that during the CTA period that I passed, I told myself I was going to live my best life. And in living my best life, I meant I will plan accordingly, make sure I have time for my friends, make sure I have time for my family, make sure I have time for me, make sure I have time for my family. And I told myself, I was like, you know what? CTA, I want to be so ready in such that, like, in 3 weeks, if something goes wrong, it does not even affect me. I don't want it to affect me. That's how ready and prepared I want to be. That I want to make sure that I'm mentally strong, emotionally strong. So I started running and jogging and, doing these things, telling myself that I can make it, having like, your vision board and writing things on my wall. You can pass, admission, passing is for you, success is for you, wealth is for you, and all these things. And I did that, and I feel like it's made me better. It made me better as well to talk to people who had made it. It made it better to talk about my feelings to my friends, and they were really open to that. And because most of my friends, all my friends are literally CAs now. So here I am trailing behind. But
Yeah.
ultimately it's my journey, and that's my story, and that's what I have to share of it. And so yeah, it was taxing emotionally. With this journey, Rudo, it's not so much about who's made it in 3 years or 5 years. It's on your individual journey. And I think I accepted it. I accepted my failures. I accepted that I'm not that girl in high school anymore. I'm not that girl in university who's likely to get a distinction. I'm here and this is where I am. And I need to correct 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And throw aside the pride, throw aside everything, and let's do this. That's what I had to tell myself, I guess.
Okay. And like what you're saying, that there are people who are around you. There are people who are funding you financially because now you're no longer at work. There are your friends who are, you saying, they're ahead of you and all that. Did you ever feel like people are becoming impatient with you? And how do you deal with that kind of situation where you feel like, people are sort of like giving up on you and maybe they're your support system? How do you deal with that?
I think one of the things that I'm blessed with is that naturally everyone around me knows I can do it. So it's like it's like I'm telling my siblings I want to do ABC and they're like, yeah, sure. And I think, but as well, I think that became something that made me sad a lot, to just know that, there are people who believe in me and they have no doubt on me, and yet I'm not pulling through. And I can actually say that most people who judged me, most people who criticized me, had nothing to do with me. They don't know anything about me. Or sometimes you tend to feel like that sometimes no one's even judging you, Rudo. But because things are just not working on your side, you now feel like, oh no, everyone's looking at me like this person who can't, do anything. And it shouldn't affect the way someone's work. It's a bad transaction, not a bad life. Things have to continue. And however, I realized this a bit too late in failing CTA. But when I did, Rudo, when I realized that it's a bad transaction and not a bad life, I've tried to make sure that everyone who's come through me, everyone who I'm mentoring, and everyone who, comes to me with their story and they're like, hey, Tarie, how did you do this? I just need to remind them that it's a bad transaction, not a bad life. Nothing has to stop when you fail CTA. Life continues. Be who you are. If you're doing a business, keep going. If you're working, doing articles, do it to the best. Coach your trainees nicely. Do everything that you can do. Bring the energy, because it's just one bad thing and not everything, and you're going to make amends with it. And so I realized this, I think 2019, Rudo. I mean 2017, 2019, you just need to motivate yourself. Tell yourself it's just this one bad thing and it's not everything. And so, yeah.
No, wow, that is actually really deep, like a bad transaction and not a bad life.
It's always okay. It's okay to be down and, to go back to the drawing board and say, look here, the foira. And like, you can't do everything in this do what you can. You cannot do everything. You want to do everything, but go to the board. Can you do this right now? Can I not do this right now? Discipline. It's all about discipline. And to be honest with you, EY and CAA, hats off to them. Very supportive family. You can imagine I wasn't at EY anymore when I made it. However, HR at EY was involved in my life a lot, understanding what progress had been made, how I needed to be supported. I was always at EY and HR, shout out to Titi, always seeing her. And you can imagine the support, what I have to share with, anyone. Move, move with what's going on. You failed. Yes. So what's the next step? What are we going to do about it?
Let's go. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. Because ultimately, we all come from different backgrounds. We're all going through different things. And we're going to feel different things at different points. Maybe something that happened to you in your 5 years is going to start affecting you in the exam room. And however, in the last year, I told myself, that Tarie, it's happening. You're feeling pain. You're coughing. You're doing ABC. You're doing. It has nothing to do with you, my guy. You shine now.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that you've given, I mean, a lot to think about, and being someone who has been there, like in this journey, and watching you come from there to where you are now, it is something which is absolutely beautiful. Sometimes when you're a bystander, you probably you want to impose on them in terms of how they should feel, how they should go through things, because
it's something that right now it's not like I have everything together. Exactly. Everything is not together. Naturally the job is so it comes with a lot of pressure. It's still what it is, but I chose it. Therefore I have to live up to it. So naturally I'm not a quitter, I'm a fighter. there's so many things that I'm lacking behind. Like, right now I need to do my training records, and I need to prove myself, prove that I can do this. So passing CTA, passing ITC is not everything. There's the next stage, there's the practical stage. Are you doing the work? Are you doing it to the best of your abilities? So like before, I just want people to know what they want to do entails. Just know what it entails. Like, you can't be going to shop for a range when you don't know how much it is with 2,000 in your pocket. You need to know what it entails such that you don't complain about it. It's just pushing all the way, regardless of whether I said CA 2022 and it's not CA 2022. There's no other way out of this than, to succeed. Yeah. So it's not, it's one thing is not the destination. And I think it's one thing that we should all be aware of. Like, you're a CA now, and I'm sure you're wondering, then what next?
And what now?
And everyone who's not is wondering, what does she mean improve herself? She's everything. And you're just like, no, I need more. I think I need to be a doctor in ABC. Like, I'm not. It's just that we are young and we have so much to give. And you mentioned financial, and I see I didn't talk about that a bit. Financially, Rudo, not going to work is a disaster, And for me, naturally, I'm a spender. I like to make money and I like to spend money. So not going to work really affected me. And you can't be getting everything from, the parents and the siblings. And I had to start a business, Rudo, a business that kind of bloomed during the lockdown. And however, now with me trying to finish articles, it doesn't gel. So I've had to like park all my ideas aside for the sake of, just making sure that I'm giving quality me, the best of me to my job, so that I'm the CA that I want to be, and eventually go out there and shoot my ideas. And since I'll be writing APT and APC at the end of the year, yeah.
Well, all the best with APT and APC.
Thank you.
I think you have things going on, but there's going to be a little bit calling you. I need you,
and that happens to me a lot, And that happens to me a lot. And I think that's one of the things that I have to tell people. You cannot avail yourself all the time. You can imagine, as soon as I wake up, I have like almost 12 messages. Oh, Tarie, where do you buy bread at the shops? Tarie, where do you do this? Naturally, I'm that person that everyone feels they can ask anything, And I think it's important to realize along the journey that you can't help everyone, that you can't be there, and it's okay. You don't need to feel bad about it. And there's a time and a chance to respond to everything. Tana, no Shikira. You cannot do everything under the earth. But I will always be there for, consulting and because naturally, as a young, can I call myself an entrepreneur? I'm not sure yet, But yeah, as a budding entrepreneur, I think there are things that I've faced, and I'm open to sharing ideas and sharing what I've been through. And this has been so humbling, and because naturally you have nothing, especially when you're starting this journey. And so it's important to always remember that, and then bring up other people with you, And yeah, so age, I don't think age has anything to do with it. Really, it's a 40-year-old person can decide today that they want to, pursue this, and I can guarantee you that they can do it. Exactly. And it's better now than 5 years later, and you're still that thing you were 5 years ago when you could be a CA in the future. So it's about mindset.
Thank you so much, Tarie. Thank you for this. I think it's like I said earlier, I'm really glad that you can come and open up. So thank you so much. Is there anything else, any other lessons that you want people to have? And yeah.
I always have lessons, Rudo. We would reach up until the evening talking. I think you know very well about me, and I actually feel like there's just so much that could ooze out of me. But what I would just say is that let's be respectful of the journey and the process. and let's try have connections, and let's be humble in the same stroke. And just, guys, remember this: bad transaction, not a bad life. And in being a better you, also realize that sometimes people don't choose when their downfall is. Like my downfall, and one of my downfalls, because I don't know what's ahead, was, the CTA journey, because I felt like it was everything. And however, it was my downfall, and we should all be, sensitive to other people's downfalls and try help people around us. Because I had so much help, Rudo. I won't even lie to you. I had so much help. So we need to bring up other people with us, and there's just more that's required from us. To whom much is given, much is required. That's all I have to say. And so, you're going to get adverse things thrown at you, but to whom much is given, much is required. We need to fight through this.
No.
Yeah.
You're so bad.
And thank you so much for having me as well. I'm really honored and really delighted, and I'm happy that I have this honor of knowing you.
I'm honored too. I got the exclusive.